Nothing to see here, nothing at all, no controversy, nothing, just some cricket. Hello, it's the Grumpy Old Men Guerilla podcast.
Just once in a decade, in a lifetime maybe, the world of entertainment is disrupted and utterly elated by something entirely new.
Good Lord.
And now for something completely different.
Good evening.
Hello there,
Bear.
Bear.
Hello, Grubby.
Hello, not Fred.
How are we
you?
all?
Well,
Well-
I'm fine and chipper. Yourself, Bear?
I'm okay. A bit grumpy with builders, but you know, I went
Yeah.
down to. In fact, I went to sack my builder today.
Yeah.
And he didn't turn up.
No, and it turned out that he actually done what he said he was going to do this time,
Bastard.
and he had 5 men on site, so I felt a bit weird, and we agreed to let him carry on.
That's a bit like doing your homework just before you're about to get suspended. You know,
It was basically like that, but
Yeah.
he really fucked me off, and I had a massive go at him the last couple of weeks, and then he finally pulled out of the bag. But it turns out he's had a fight with his missus and had been at court on Monday, and I think that had been waylaying him for a couple of weeks.
That's not your problem.
No, it's not my problem, but that's what I did say to him, and he did say that back to me.
well.
But there you go.
The life of a landlord. Anyway, there's been a fair bit of cricket since we last met. At least 3 test matches as far as England are concerned. 4 if you count the women's test match, which of course we all do.
You do.
course. Have we met since we did? When was the last time we did a podcast?
The mashes and the washes.
Last time we did a podcast was
So
who did we
long
play
ago.
in the winter. I don't even remember.
Was it
Yeah.
after New Zealand?
Pakistan.
Was it Pakistan? So we've
No.
had a New Zealand series since then as well. We lost that. No, we didn't. We drew it.
No, no.
1-1.
No idea.
We're not
You're
here to
listening to-
we're not here to review the past. We're
No,
here
You're
to
okay.
talk
listening
about
to early
the
onset
recent past.
Alzheimer's patients
Yeah.
trying to recall what happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so the English cricketing summer started with a test against Ireland, but frankly, that wasn't very interesting. Perhaps the most interesting and possibly depressing thing about it was that Ireland couldn't be asked to play their best team because they were prioritising the all-important 50-over qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe.
Well, that's come
we-
back to bite them in the arse, Ted.
Bite them in the bollocks. It did. Because they got knocked out of that in the minimum number of games, I think. So much for your priorities, Irish cricket. But we don't like having a go at Irish cricket. We like having a go at Welsh cricket.
Welsh
but they-
cricket.
yes.
Exactly.
But was there anything of interest to say about the Irish Test match? Not really. It was fairly straightforward for England, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, we let them get 400 in the second innings, which I suppose was a bit boring. But the pitch was terrible. In fact, the pitches for both Test matches have been pretty fucking. In fact, all the Test matches have been pretty awful. Apart from weirdly, the Test match pitch for the World Test Championship.
Well, you say that,
Australia
Bear.
versus India.
You say that, but in the mashes, we've had forget about all the rest of the stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. They've been 2 fantastic games.
They've been 2 fantastic
Oh,
games. but
yeah,
the pitches
yeah.
haven't been great. That's,
Well,
you know.
For
But
who?
often
For
bad
Jimmy.
pitches. Yeah,
Um,
I think he's got to be careful what he says or what he's quoted as saying.
He's not a fool.
Because, yeah,
He's been at the England setup long enough, and
Yeah.
If something's quoted from him in the paper, he meant it to be there. Let's be honest.
well,
and
yeah,
the
that-
pitches
that
haven't been
pitch-
helpful to him. But
that pitch wasn't for me.
yeah,
That pitch wasn't for me. You know, he gets to the point where, well, what do you want?
I want a fucking
it's-
green
well,
seamer.
we want Trent Bridge 2015, and the Australians bowled out before lunch. That's
want-
what we really want.
I want overhead conditions in which my best ball, the late swinging in-swinger or outswinger, can happen. But that's nothing to do with the pitch. That's to do with overhead conditions.
Yeah,
well,
but he
pitches
also
help.
needs a little bit. Yeah, but he needs a bit of nibble off the pitch as well. Both pitches.
Yeah, but saying,
both
"Oh, I
times.
can't bowl on this, I can't bowl," it smacks of excuses, doesn't it? However, he might have.
It does. I mean,
but
Jimmy has been a bit. He's been a bit. I mean, he's been pretty shit. Let's be honest. Actually,
He's not, I
because
don't think he has been shit. I think he's just
Well-
a nuts. He's a nuts off, and he's not been. You know, he's not had the best of luck either. Anyway, the original point was that people have been lambasting these pitches from all sides, and we've had 2
And yet-
tremendous games.
Yes, we had.
Yeah.
But the argument against that would be there was a pitch in Pakistan, I'm going to guess Faisalabad, where England won an incredibly exciting Test match, which was one of the absolute deadest pitches you will ever see in Test cricket. So you can, as England did in that Test, forcing the issue and playing absurdly attacking cricket, force a result even on the deadest of pitches.
By hook or by Brook.
Yes,
well, indeed.
You've been trying to get that in for weeks, and it's not all that good, Grumpy.
I'm trying to get it in written media and in spoken media, and I think I've done that now. So,
of course, we got a Ricky Ponting exclusive.
That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Guerilla Cricket has appeared in the great newspapers of the world.
Exactly.
And
none of the fuckers gave us a backlink though.
No, but they did all mention Guerilla Cricket. To be fair,
they did.
And
I think they had to because we were the source.
Credit where credit's due, and we have to acknowledge that the story first appeared in the Times, and we have to thank Lizzie Ammon for writing that story.
Don't let Hendo hear the podcast.
He's not gonna.
Now
what's he gonna do? Storm out? He's not on
that podcast that Tone and Hendo did and the interview with Punter. Now, as we all know, this podcast, the Grumpy Guerilla podcast, probably got 8 out of the top 10 ever.
Yeah.
Easily in terms of downloads. Yeah. We might just have been overtaken. Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
At the number ones. Are we not yet?
No.
Really? Oh well.
I can tell you
that's
the top one
to this show.
The top one, I swear it's down to the title. But if you two natter, I'll tell you what the top one was. It was stabbing knives, I think, or something.
Ooh.
What?
Stabbing knives? It doesn't sound a very podcasty sort of title.
Well, I know, but that's probably because you just randomly choose words out in the middle of the podcast to make a title.
I do.
Exactly.
And we try and make up for the lack of beautiful content by actually
mentioning that content again,
putting ridiculous titles.
And then we sucker people in, and the all-time top one is Knife in the Throat, episode 16.
Yes, I even remember that story. That's
what people are searching for. What was the story?
Should I repeat it?
Anytime someone remembers something, I'm all over it.
There was a wholesome Little League baseball game which was being done on live TV, and it's lovely. It's like these 14-year-old boys and they're playing, and it was being, and the managers were mic'd up, and they were just about to win the game, and everyone loves it because it's just so wholesome American entertainment, and he decided to call them in for a huddle just before they were going to win, and he gets the team together and he says, "Okay, guys, you know what I'm going to say. It's what I always say in this situation." So one of the kids says, "Put a knife in their throat." He goes, "No." I never say that because and another kid goes, "Shut up! He's being recorded. Shut up! It's on TV."
That is so good.
Well,
by the way, do you think there is anyone in the world called Mike Dupp?
Mike the Dupp's not much of a name, is it?
Dupp, D-U-P-P?
The P, probably.
Dupp.
Mike Dupp.
Yeah.
I'm going to Google him.
Yeah, I think
go on LinkedIn.
I think Richard Keys might have to change his name to that. Wasn't he who got done for it for having a live mic whilst he was having what he thought was an off-record chat with Andy Gray, and they both got sacked.
Yep.
It was
there's a Mike Dupp. You think you know if it's his real name? He's on TikTok.
I'm gonna guess at no.
I bet there is someone called Mike Dupp in the world.
There's one on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
He insists on being called Michael. I would guess.
Right, like needless foreplay. This is just skirting around the main business of the evening. Should we get it out of the way?
Oh, okay. England have played a couple of Test matches. Did anything interesting happen in those first two Test matches?
Should we get the thing out of the way?
What's the thing?
The Bairstow thing, shall we?
Ah, the Bairstow thing.
The Bairstow in the room.
I've almost lost friends over this.
Really?
With the level of debate that's been going on, the vitriol,
whoa.
the
you
bad
have friends?
feeling. All right. WhatsApp acquaintances.
Oh, okay.
From my point of view, I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. But if you watch it, it's been done loads of times in tests. They just don't often hit the wickets. B, no one's that stupid to fucking get that far out of their crease without looking behind them. And C, if you actually watch Carey, there is no time lag between him catching the ball and letting it go. So
It was about a second.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's all basically he takes it. It's all in one action. He thought about it. Bairstow was clearly doing it. Bairstow's stupid. Probably shouldn't have done it. But as we all know, they're Australian, so why not? And having done it and hit the wickets, because most of the time they miss, they're bound to appeal. It is out. What do you do? I mean, either Pat Cummins withdraws the appeal, which is highly unlikely.
Well, yep. Okay, so right, Bear, that's thank you for summing up so succinctly. Not Fred, would you like to give us your take?
It's hard to say something that hasn't been said already. I thought it was a disgrace from a nation that's been complaining about bodyline for 90 years. And when England said, well, it was in the laws of the game, they said, it doesn't matter, it's not sportsmanlike. And they're still complaining. They still complain about it to this day. I tweeted something which I didn't see anywhere else, so I'm hoping it's an original thought, which is that in about 10 years' time, Pat Cummins is going to be a summariser, or he's going to be, and he's going to say, in retrospect, I probably should have withdrawn the appeal. And frankly, it's not good enough. If you're going to say that in 10 years because you want, you're trying to get reinvited into polite society, then say it now. And because he can't. It's just not on. Frankly,
okay. Well,
other things that aren't in the laws of the game, which happen every day when the batsman shovels the ball to the fielder, or I mean, there's a million things. And I don't want to get all racist over rates, but I mean, if you have to wait for 4 seconds every time the keeper's got the ball in his gloves before you want to go down and pat the wicket, then you're going to get 45 overs in a day, aren't you? It's not on. Absolutely not on. The ball's settled in his gloves. That's the end of the play, as they would say, and the umpire should have turned down the appeal, in my opinion.
Right. Well, okay, but here are my thoughts then. I think labelling Australia cheats is dangerous. I mean,
cheats the wrong word. Cheats is the wrong word.
I think so because no laws were broken.
Yeah. Sandpaper was cheating.
And yes, all right, that's a different thing. And I do think Johnny was dozy. Whether he intended or not, he was a serial crease lever. Also, when Carey took the ball and wanged it at the stumps, Johnny was still in his crease. And he left the crease. Now, I would like to think, and I say I would like to think because I wasn't there and I wasn't in it, as much as Ben Stokes has had to speculate on what he might have done. I like to think that I'm, as the captain of the opposition, I might have called him back and withdrawn the appeal. But that's me because
you see, I wouldn't have done.
It seemed nothing. But I don't like all of the. I don't like the look. As Ben Stokes has said, would I want to win a game of cricket like that? I probably wouldn't, but they've done it, and that's listen. It was out. There's no disputing that. And also to have people like Stuart Broad lecturing people on the spirit of the game.
I like that.
Mr. Absolutely knock the cover off it to first slip. And I had a mate of mine on one of the WhatsApps going, oh, well, it's different with that because it puts you at a massive disadvantage because people don't walk. Okay, well, if you've got principles about the spirit of the game, then you continue to walk.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, no one ever
fucking
fucking walks,
walking was ever a thing.
No.
Frankly, for all the people who walked, when they were on 160 and their team was on 500 for 6, those same people weren't walking when they were 90 for 7. This was never a thing. The umpire's decision is to give you in or out, and now you've got the DRS.
I've not walked twice in my life.
I've done it once. Not proud of it, but I didn't.
Well, the first time was in a school game.
I cheated. That's cheating in my book.
Well, it's not cheating. You got to be given out by the umpire.
But I know
professional players. It's
the second time I've said this before. The second time I didn't walk. I must have virtually knocked the cover off it. Yeah, and they all appealed. And the problem I had was I stood there so long waiting for the umpire to give me out, and then he didn't give me out. And then it was a bit embarrassing. So then I just stood there, and they were so fucking livid. And then the weird thing is the same thing happened to one of their guys at the end. Right. And I even went up to him after the game, and I said, look, I'll admit it, I fucking didn't walk. He said, oh, no, I didn't hit it. I was like, come on, mate.
Yeah, but to have someone say, well, that's different because when you've got lots of other people not walking, then it puts you at a disadvantage if you also if you do walk. That's not a principle then. This whole
No,
fucking spirit of cricket
absolutely.
thing. That's bullshit.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that doesn't undermine the whole question of not having to walk. That's just your idiot friend's idiot opinion. Sorry if you're listening or you were listening.
If you're listening, Jeej.
I just remember that an anecdote I heard about 3 weeks ago, which is quite relevant, when Middlesex were playing the combined universities in the Benson and Hedges Cup, and a young Nasser Hussain was batting for the combined universities, and he's nicked one and he's been caught behind, and he doesn't move, and there's no movement from the umpire. And Gat, who was captaining Middlesex, turns around and says, I think it was Bernard Julian, the umpire. No, not Bernard Julian. What was the name of the umpire? I can't remember. Anyway, he says, come on, ump. He says he's absolutely middled that. And the umpire says, yes, I'm just waiting for the young gentleman to walk.
Yep. And did he after that?
No.
Did you then give him out?
Yeah, well, after as you probably similar to you, Bear. After a few seconds, nobody can really do anything. The batsman can't walk, and the umpire can't really give him out.
The umpire can still.
Well, he can, yes, but it's
all very well to say these, highfalutin things like that. But then if he then calls you bluff, you're going to act.
These are very different. Benson Hedges game, at what we're playing on a weekend, and Test cricket are different sports as regards walking. It's a different thing.
Is it a different code though, Fred?
I mean certain people. I'm talking to you, Al Hodge. Said there's no such thing as a spirit of the game. Everything should be in the laws. Is living in cloud cuckoo land, because you absolutely cannot, under any circumstances, put every eventuality in the laws of the game.
Yeah, it's true.
And there are, even if you had a 1,000-page rule book, there will be grey areas. And what polices the grey areas? Well, it's the players who police the grey areas. And there are things that are done, and there are things that are not done. They should have withdrawn the appeal. They absolutely should have withdrawn the appeal.
In your opinion?
But they were so shit scared. They were so shit scared that when they were 360 odd runs ahead, they sent out a man who couldn't walk, who should have been timed out, hobbling down the stairs of the pavilion to add another, whatever it was, 4 runs, 6 runs, 8 runs,
15.
because they were absolutely shit scared.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
they could have lost it.
Yeah,
and they could have lost it.
I mean, let's talk about the 2 games so far. We're 2-0 down, and we're so not out of this series, even though it looks like we are. I mean, we should have won that first test.
It's a big ask.
It is a big ask. We should have won that first test. We fucking
should have, would have, could have.
Up.
Yeah. They played really well. I mean,
they did.
They did. Cummins and Lyon at the end played really, really well. I mean, England was strong favourites when they came together. How many runs do they still need?
The 55, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite Stokes and Leach, but it was an absolutely.
I don't know why at that point they didn't start trying to bowl Yorkers consistently and have a leg side field and a couple of people in and a couple of people out and a couple of slips in and and try and close it that way. Instead, they tried to bowl short. Cummins, we've seen Cummins. We saw Cummins score 14 ball 50 in the IPL. Yeah. He can certainly lamp it.
When you say we,
I saw.
Yeah, no, Cummins can bat. There's no doubt about it. He'll hit Test 100 one day if he plays another 5 years.
Yeah,
he's good enough to do that.
He's Australia's answer to Chris Wokes.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, fine margin. Stokes could have held on to that catch and line. That'd have been 9 down, still a long way off. Hazelwood would have come, whoever would have come, Boland would have come out.
What a terrific Test match!
Yeah, it was a great Test match, and the second one was
two great Test matches.
Yeah, I mean, we to be fair, England threw it away on that. In that second afternoon, didn't they? When 188 for 1 and started flapping at short balls.
Well, in the first Test match, it's so long. So much has happened since that it's almost been sort of put to one side. But I would like to concentrate on the absolutely unforgivable, ludicrous decision England made to declare on 390 for 8 with 4 overs left on day 1.
That made me laugh. I love that.
I think I thought at the time that it had no cricketing logic to it, and the more I think about it, the less cricketing logic it has. If it's possible to have less than no cricketing logic, and I thought of a football analogy, which is a bit strained, but I'm going to give it anyway. Which is like if your team is 1-0 down the 95th minute and you send your goalkeeper up for a corner, perfectly legitimate. If your team is 1-0 down in the 35th minute and you send your goalkeeper up for a corner, it doesn't make any footballing sense. And if a manager afterwards says, well, I remember some bloke scoring for Carlisle in whenever it was, so our
Jimmy
keeper could have
Glass.
scored. It's true, but it's irrelevant. If he says, well, even if the goalkeeper would have stayed in the goal, they might have broken away down the other end and scored a goal. It's also true, but it's completely irrelevant. If you do something that stupid, it means you don't understand the game of cricket. The underlying thinking behind it is so flawed that you don't understand the game of cricket. And if a manager comes out at the end of that game, I mean, is that a sacking offence for a football manager? Well, probably not. But if he comes out at the end of the game and says it was the right decision and I would do it again tomorrow, then you need to sack him because he does not understand the game of football. And I'm afraid I thought the same of that England declaration. It had no sense to it whatsoever.
I mean,
are you saying that Ben Stokes doesn't understand the game of cricket?
Well, that's what somebody said to me. Do you think Brendan McCullum doesn't understand the game of cricket? And I said, how many times do you listen to Michael Vaughan or Sonny Gavaskar? People who have played hundreds of test matches and you listen to them and they say something which is so stupid, you think, well, he's played 100 test matches. He must know more than me.
No,
it's not always true.
This is a management team, if I can call Stokes and McCullum a management team, who's presided over an incredibly successful period of Test history for England recently, following
and they made a decision which is so bad that it casts everything that they have done before and possibly since into a new light.
But bold declarations were part of what gave England the 3-0 victory in.
Yeah, there's
bold, and there's criminally insane.
Listen, it didn't ultimately come off, but we were very
close.
I'm
not saying the ultimate. It's not hindsight. I was saying it at the time, and other people were saying it. Of course, people were saying it.
The
value of 30, 40, 50 runs that could have been added.
Could have been, or it could have been done.
Yes. I'm saying the other team could have broke down and scored even if the goalkeeper had stayed back. It's irrelevant. The fact is, you'd expect Root and the other two batsmen to have put on 30 under normal circumstances easily. The value of those 30 runs was so huge that it's an absolutely crass decision.
I mean, they should. I thought at the time they should have probably gone on and just got all out. Exactly. Root was hammering it around the park at the time. But then you could equally say, look, fucking Johnny Bairstow missed a stumping on green second ball. He got 38. Carey was dropped.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it
on
from
23
from the
and went on to get 55. And then Khawaja was bowled off a no ball and went on to get another 20 runs. There's 80 runs left, that England fucked over.
I'm talking about how it was looked at when they made the decision, and there was no cricketing logic behind making that decision when they made it.
My reaction was to laugh heartily at the wonderful madness of it all. And of course, if we'd taken a couple of wickets that evening, it would have looked great. And actually, at that point, where the game went to, it went pretty deep into day 5. The chance of a result was either way at that point was hugely improved, if you like. I understand what you're saying, Fred. I get the frustration, but one of the great things about the Stokey-Cullum axis is that way of playing, and this is why I got frustrated when we lost those 3 wickets in the second test. Just getting out to the same tactic again and again. That looked dumb, and that looked like we were doing what Australia wanted us to do. One of the great things about this way of playing is that you're constantly on the front foot. You're constantly trying to do things that are going to surprise the opposition and get them on the back foot. And that mad declaration to me was one example of that. We were on the front foot for almost the entirety of that game against the world #1 side.
It's true.
Well, I've said what I've said. I can't agree. I don't think it makes any sense, and as I say, it casts aspersions on the people who made that decision. It's being on the front foot and doing things that surprise the opposition, or you can declare on 200 for 3. It's just making a decision, playing like banter ball, if you like, just doing something for the heck of it and for the laugh is
but this is the other thing which I think
is not professional sport.
This is the other thing which I think is become a bit of a received bit of wisdom about this thing, the B word that I'm not going to mention, is that people go, oh, they're saying that entertainment is prioritized over results.
Well,
that's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like you get this group of elite sportsmen together, and you're telling me that they don't all want to win. I mean, it's a given that they want to win. The way they think that they've got the best chance of winning is playing in a certain way and giving people the freedom and the license to go and play each moment as they see the best. Now, of course, they make mistakes along the way.
Grubby, I'm the last person to, I'm always calling for attacking cricket, trying to win. I've been, I've been banging the same drum for 30 years. You don't say we're going to make the game safer and then we're going to try and win. You try and win at all points, but there has to be a line. And anyone who said that, by the way, they value entertainment more than winning. Well, it was pretty clearly disproved by what happened in the second Test match when England spent half a day bowling that short ball line.
Because it was working.
Well, I'm saying that wasn't entertaining. And any stretch of the imagination.
Well, is it not entertaining when you see wickets fall? Because that tactic on both sides yielded wickets.
And I want to come back to that, but it's not. It took some wickets after a while after Cameron Green lost his patience. But I mean, there was a long period where he didn't lose his patience, and it was the least entertaining type of cricket you ever see in your life.
But that's the way it works,
isn't it? Same people. Yeah, sorry, can't.
Well, because that was exactly it, wasn't it? I mean, we castigated England because they flapped around and all got out, right? And then when England started doing it, especially when Khawaja was in the second morning with who was he in with the second morning? I can't remember who he was with. But Smith on the third morning, whatever it was, and they both looked really, really comfortable against it, right? And they kept flapping, they flapped it around a bit, and left it, and eventually both lost patience, and that's the problem with it, isn't it? I mean, that's why it works, because actually there's no other way of scoring except for trying to hit the fucking thing.
I was less, sorry.
And then Khawaja got out, and then Smith looked supreme, and then obviously the pitch was a bit too paced, and one got up a little bit high, and he top edged it instead of flapping it around the corner. He top edged it. He was out. Cameron Green came in, didn't want to hit. Eventually tried to hit one, got caught. And that's the whole point of it, isn't it? It's not pretty, but it is effective, because the only way of scoring is trying to hit the short ball. And on a pitch that was offering variable bounce and two paceness, eventually you were going to get one that you got timed wrong. And if you had enough men out, it was probably going to go to someone, and someone was going to get a wicket. And that's exactly what it played. It wasn't exactly that. It wasn't entertaining. It was quite dull to watch. It was quite gritty. In some ways, it was. It was interesting to watch, but that was about it. But it was too much. But the problem with it is too many wasted balls that aren't going to threaten the batsman, are going down leg side or wide off stump or miles over the head.
Like
you've only got to play two balls over.
Johnny Bairstow can easily duck underneath and
then get run out. Yeah, stumped.
I mean, there's been some talk about body line to do with the spirit of the game and all. If anything, in this second Test match, will remind me of body line down the line, it's the fact that lawmakers are going to have to change the law, because this genie has been let out of the bottle. This cat has been let out of the bag, and any other metaphors you want to use, because teams are going to start doing this on a regular basis, and it's basically going to kill. Well, they do it at one end. They were doing it with Neil Wagner. It's going to kill cricket, because if every ball is at your shoulder, and you have 5 or 6 men dotted around the outfield, on the boundary behind the bat, there are no genuine scoring shots that can be played with any safety whatsoever. And you say, well, fine, that's within the laws of the game. But Bodyline changed the law in that you were only allowed to have 2 men behind square on the leg side. And that's still the law 90 years later. And I think lawmakers are going to have to do something similar. They may have to say you're only allowed 3 deep fielders behind the bat, or 4, which would make it, because otherwise everybody's going to switch to this, and you're going to kill.
But they did change the law. You're only allowed 2 balls over the shoulder in and over.
So yes, okay, but if you bowl at the shoulder, which is not, if you bowl every ball at the shoulder, you've got your 2 that go over the shoulder, and the rest of them at the shoulder. You can continue to do that all day from both ends.
Poor old bowlers, though.
We'll have 58. We'll have 58 overs an hour, and the scoring weights will.
58 overs an hour. That'd be good.
A day. There are no shots that you can play. There are absolutely no shots that you can play, and it's going to kill cricket. But you've got a fine leg and you've got a long leg behind the wicketkeeper, and what are you going to do then? You play the ramp, and you can't control it.
Oh well, okay. Well, when the field moves, then you do something different. But rather than hooking,
but they had about 5 men on the boundary behind the bat, between sort of third man and long
Square
leg.
leg.
What,
Yeah.
behind
While
the
they
wicket?
were
They're
doing
a
that.
long stop. Did they behind the wicket keeper?
Well,
Yeah, they
really
did.
bad.
Yeah, they did.
When
Okay.
Brendan McCullum hit his fastest century of all time in the Test
Hang on.
matches,
Off
they
the
did
top
have
of
a long stop. Australia did have a long stop, and it's going to kill cricket because teams are just going to revert to this. They're going to switch it on, and there's no legitimate defence from the batsman to that.
For
that-
me, it was an interesting chapter in a fascinating Test match. Short pitch bowling for a little while, testing the batsman, and the largely fell for it. So you keep it.
Just a little while. Ben Stokes did it for 17 consecutive overs.
That was certain periods of the game, and both sides used it. And while batsmen are getting out like that, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Because
But that's well, there you go. That's why you need a fucking better pitch that offers something to the bowlers. At least then they're going to bowl up, and then
we've got a great game. I go back to we've got a great game. What's the problem? And oftentimes it's the same fuckers complaining that this is boring and whacking it in the middle of the pitch who are complaining that B-ball is too exciting and reckless. Fucking hell.
I just
find something else to moan about.
I just think that sometimes in every sport, teams will find a way within the rules of doing something which is against the interests of the sport at large. And that happens in all sports. And what happens is that
it's
that
like
boards
parking
need
a
to
bus in
people
football.
who need to who make the laws of the game. It's like kicking the ball back to the goalkeeper. It was outlawed. Why was it outlawed?
That's the best rule change. Yeah,
because the worst team in the history of the world, Liverpool Football Club, during the 70s and 80s. Boring, awful, terrible people just spent their whole time kicking the ball back to Ray Clements. They changed the law, and it had the desired effect. And I think that the people who are responsible for the laws of cricket are going to have to do the same. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do it. It may involve getting the umpires.
Hopefully, it won't happen too often. I mean,
but the cat's out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's been done before, and blah blah blah. So I mean, it won't. I don't think it'll happen at Headingley.
Talking of laws, there was a moment, and this largely got lost because of what happened with Bairstow on Sunday afternoon. Also to do with Alex Carey. Now I forget which wicket it was, but Carey, who by the way is kept brilliantly,
really well,
regardless of what you think about,
nice to have a keeper, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
It's fantastic to have a keeper who knows what he's doing. But he had gone down the leg side, and when the inevitable short ball came, he was there to catch it almost at first leg slip, as opposed to where a wicketkeeper would normally stand, which would be more to the offside. But then somebody on the commentary sort of mischievously pointed out that perhaps England could have complained because by standing there, he became a third fielder.
The wicketkeeper is not counted as one of those two fielders.
That's in the laws. Okay, so all right, fine.
I mean, there was I remember the horrible instance where Ashley Giles was bowling to like Tendulkar, and they were bowling outside the leg stump, and they were bowling over and after over, left arm over the wicket, outside the leg stump, and the keepers were standing down the leg side.
Wheelie bin.
And they changed the rules on that as well. They started calling wides. I mean, as I say, teams always look for little things to try and find advantage, and the rule makers need to look at that. And if they think it's against the interest of the game, which I think this perpetual short bowling is, it's not a racist thing. It's not about the West Indies, Ravi Nair. It's two white teams were doing it against each other, and both were equally culpable. But as I say, the cat's out of the bag now. People are going to start doing it all the time, and it needs to be.
It's not like it's a new thing either.
Well, the other thing to say.
The other thing to say,
you need the bowlers there to do it.
Well, yeah.
The consequence of that was, I mean, Australia bowled like 78 overs in one day or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you hear anything of fines after this game? I didn't.
No, but I presume they both got fines. And
they all got fined 40% after the first test, I think.
Yeah,
but I didn't hear anything after the second because there was so much other
things.
There's so
it's
much
been
else
drowned.
to talk about.
They buried bad news. By the way, while we're still on that, and as a tangential piece, really, there was a lovely tweet I saw because the MCC suspended 3 of their members for haranguing the Australian team on the way in. Well,
Lord's bosses.
No.
Lord's bosses, as I saw it in
it's like
tabloid headline.
Yeah, it's like saying boffins at the University of whatever. Anyway, but this is brilliant. I'm reading this. This is not boring cricket tweet of the week. This is far from it. It says the MCC.
Are you going to make fun of people's names now, Grubby?
The MCC can confirm it has suspended 3 members identified from earlier today. Okay, ready for them? Bartholomew Frinton Smythe, Humphrey Wigbert Porter, and Quinton Breckenridge will not be permitted back to Lords whilst the investigation takes place, etc., etc. Now, for a moment, I thought that must
be a comedy tweet.
So brilliantly, but they weren't like Reginald Large Yacht for Tang. Okay, these were names that were plausible, and also the rest of it is utterly believable. But I've delved into it trying to gain a secondary source, and I can't find a secondary source, so it must have been made up, and I love it.
Well, have you searched Facebook for people with these names?
I've certainly put one or two of those names into your Google, and mainly what comes up is a link to this tweet.
Lords bosses. I mean, they're a private club; they can do what they like to their members, and they can have their own rules. Which I frankly, they were saying what a lot of us were thinking, basically. And as somebody who has once harangued an umpire at Lords from the pavilion.
Oh yeah. Do tell.
When they came off for bad light when the sun was shining, and said umpire, who I won't name, it was John Holder actually.
So you did name.
Who had a reputation for much preferring to sit with his feet up in the changing room rather than actually standing outside in the middle.
Was that the nature of your heckle?
No, I asked him, why are they coming off? And he said, the light's too bad. And I said, no, the light isn't too bad. And he said, you don't know what you're talking about. And this was actually in the Lord's Pavilion. It was a long time ago. It was about 30 years ago. So it's not unheard of. But frankly, honestly, for Australians to complain about treatment from a crowd is one of the great ironies in the history of cricket.
That is funny. That's also
that is funny. Yeah, I mean the thing is as well, they're going to get
with a straight face.
I mean they're now going up to the north of England. They're going to get it a shitload worse up there than they ever got it down south.
Are you trying to say that people in the north are more uncouth than people in the south?
I may well be saying that, but I'm saying the Yorkshire crowd are not going to give them an inch, and I doubt that the Old Trafford crowd will either.
Well, yeah, and that will be celebrated in the Guardian, whereas this is disapproved of. I don't know why. It's one of those things.
Officially known as the notorious Western Terrace now.
They changed the name of it to the Western Stand because everyone.
Yeah, but it's not though, is it?
I mean, Headingley is not a pleasant ground.
I've loved my time.
You might say Yorkshire people are not pleasant people. Some people might say that.
Some people might say that. God's own country and all that.
Yeah, they do have a rather. How do you know if somebody's a Yorkshireman? They will tell you in about 8 seconds.
Exactly.
I don't think they should be playing tests at Headingley. I don't think they should. For 20 years, the ECB bailed them out. Quite aside from their recent issues, but. They are playing it, and as you say, Bear, the Australians are going to absolutely cop it.
They are indeed. What is? I haven't seen the side. I presume we've named the side early because that's what.
We have.
Who's in it? What have we got?
Moeen, Wokes. No, there's no Dan Lawrence.
Wood's in as well, isn't he?
Wood, yeah, exactly.
So
Jimmy and Tong are arrested / dropped.
So Ollie Robinson's still in. So what have we got? So we got we got the opening pair, and then we've got
Brook,
then?
Brook bats 3.
Brook bats 3.
Root, Bairstow at 5, Stokes at 6.
They've managed to weaken the batting and the bowling, and keep the wicket keeping equally bad. It's a win-win situation.
I do think Josh Tong is a bit unlucky.
I think Josh Tong is a bit unlucky.
Why are we calling him Tong? His name's Tongue.
Tongue.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get somewhere. I don't know why.
It's Tongue.
It's all gone Josh Tongue.
In fact, we had this argument on air, and everyone kept calling him. So in fact, Hendo was calling him Tongue. I was like, no, it's Tongue, and now I'm calling him Tong. It's doing my head in. Tongue. It's fucking Tongue.
Long.
Hyacinth Bouquet, the lady of the residence.
Well, it's Hyacinth Bouquet had a very good test match for England, or nice. Ben, as he's known. Yeah. Somewhat, again, overlooked. A lot of things were overlooked because there was just so much madness in the first.
Well, Stokes' innings for starters.
The most bizarre thing of the summer might be that Ben Duckett is a successful England opener against Australia.
It's quite mad, isn't it?
Bonkers. It
is quite bonkers.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Tomorrow's wicket looks like it's going to be. I mean, from the pictures pictures I saw today, the weather tomorrow is going to be quite
Oh,
cool, and it's had a little
don't-
bit of rain. It's going
Yeah.
to be green again,
But
isn't
don't
it?
judge the pitch on what it looked like today. Like, how
No,
many
that's
times have
true.
we seen this?
Yeah, true.
My team would have been Pope to miss out, obviously, from the last Test match, and Jimmy to have a rest stroke drop, and possibly retire in a strop. And they would have been replaced by Dawson and Folkes, which would have actually lengthened the batting order.
Yeah.
It would have increased the variety of the bowling and vastly improved the wicket keeping. So they did none of those.
Dawson's a left-arm spinner.
No, Dawson's an offie.
He's right.
Oh, is he an offie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, the one thing that, I mean, I've been saying it all serious, but the one thing that goes against Leach, actually, and the fact that a timely injury, if it was one, is he's not actually he was never very good at bowling at left-handers, and they've got so many fucking left-handers in the top 7.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
Poor old
Dawson is a
Leachy.
great,
No,
great
well,
bowler.
But he's an ever presence in.
yeah, no. I
In,
mean, look,
and-
I'd have preferred him to be in it because
in
he
many
is our
ways,
spinner.
the heartbeat of that side.
Yes,
Ben
I
Stokes
agree.
Keeps quoting.
Oh
him,
yeah,
doesn't he?
he's great on the intangibles. Not so much on the tangibles.
But no, but I mean, his
Did he
actual
quote? Look how much
well,
we
his
missed in this
record-
series.
Well, exactly, his record is actually pretty bloody good.
You were saying we should have won both these Test matches. How much should we have missed?
I didn't say we should have. I said we could have.
Look, Anderson has actually done pretty much the role of Leach, which is bowl quite. He can't bowl as many overs, but he bowls dry, and even when he's not taking wickets,
Leach rarely bowls dry.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but you need, if Stokes can't bowl, other than the odd 17-over spell of half trackers, again, what logic? I think you struggle to find it. Then you do need somebody. There's going to be a time when you're going to need somebody to bowl for most of an afternoon at one end. I don't think Moeen has had that in him for 5 or 6 years.
I don't know. I think
I don't think he can bat at Test level again since about 2014 when the Indians worked him over. I just think it's so retrograde. The only thing going for him as far as England management is concerned is that he hasn't played any red ball cricket, and they seem to think that's a major advantage. And that's probably working against people like Dawson, who play a lot of red ball cricket.
I did want to talk about Wokes actually, because every time we appear to speak about him on this show or elsewhere on Guerilla, it seems that he's not played for a long time.
No, he never plays.
He's not played a first-class game since the beginning of May.
Yeah,
he's not played a Test match since before Stokey Cullen was a thing. He's not. He played a T20 for the Bears a couple of weeks ago, but that's it.
Yeah,
and now he's expected to come in.
It's bonkers. They're turning 150 years of cricketing orthodoxy on its head. In so many ways, but the one way that doesn't make any sense is that they prefer people to have not played any cricket. They want people to come in without no form.
I thought you said Moeen and Wood are in, not Wokes.
Oh, Wokes is in as well. Sorry.
Oh right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Moeen,
no Jimmy, no
Moeen for Pope,
and no Pope.
Moeen for Pope. Some idiot. Oh no, it was you, Bear, who said Moeen should bat at 3. That is just the stupidest.
That is
stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's Stokey Cannonball at its best, mate. Just come in and thrash a quick 50.
And the joke is now that England have invented a system where openers aren't a thing anymore. There's no such thing. You don't need to be an opener.
Well, that's because we don't have any.
Well, what did openers historically do
sense.
for 150 years was they left balls that they didn't have to play at. Ben Duckett famously does not ever leave a ball.
Yeah.
He leaves like about 3% of the balls he's faced in the last
I mean,
couple of years.
There is a certain amount. I mean, the whole thing about this is there is a certain amount of logic to it, because you don't leave balls in an ODI, and
you don't have 4 slips in the gully in an ODI either.
No, you don't. You don't. But a lot of the time, you get the ball along the ground or whatever. I mean, he's done all right. As you said, Duckett. He got 98 and 82. He scored 190, 170 runs.
Yeah.
England are committed to this thing that we're going to do better playing in this way than if we played in the other way, the orthodox way, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And so far, you have to say
it's
mostly worked. It's
sort of working.
But I mean, if you've got an openers missing, then it doesn't matter. Then Brook can do that at opening. Root can do that. Bairstow can do that. Stokes can do that. Anybody can do that.
I was fully on board with asking Johnny Bairstow to open the innings.
Yeah.
And picking folks. Listen, that ship has sailed. I don't want to keep harping on about it. But ask Johnny to open with Alex Hales. I was saying, do that.
Well, yeah, Alex Hales and Jason Roy in some respects were just a couple of years too
early.
But the fact is, they did it and they had no success doing it. Whereas
Well, not
Duckett,
none.
Well, no, because when
Hales had
when Roy came in,
yeah,
he actually
Hales
tried.
had some. Yeah, Roy had no success at all at it.
Well, he tried
But
to
again,
play
he wasn't-
properly, didn't he? And
he wasn't-
he was never going to play properly.
but
so
also he wasn't given a Zach
he fought
Crawley
properly.
style running the team.
no.
No, he wasn't.
Crawley's done all right actually, considering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crawley has done all right. And again, these are the amazing things that are happening. And it turns out he was quite right not to care what anybody says. But again, he's probably been helped by the fact he's been out to a couple of good balls. He's probably been helped by the fact that so much has gone on, so many talking points that if you've had a bad game, it just sort of seems to get forgotten. And I think we should not overlook Stokes's innings. He didn't see England over the line.
Yeah,
but
fantastic.
look what this fellow
fucking
can do.
box office, man.
Look what he can do.
Oh,
It's
fantastic.
just astonishing. I mean, those
You knew it was just, you knew it was
2
just a
hours
little.
before he got out. Yes, on Sunday, were just you could not take your eyes off a single
No.
ball.
You just knew it was that little bit too far. I said at the beginning of the day that
It
two of
always
these
felt a
players
long
need
way
to-
away.
Well, it felt, but they were only.
I said
they were
two
only
of them
6
need to get
wickets down.
150.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I said two of them need to get 150, and Duckett fell for 80 odd, and Stokes got his 150. If Duckett had gone on to get his 150, would have won that game.
When there was 80,
yeah.
when there was 80 needed and 4 wickets to fall, I was watching it with a bunch of guys in a cricket club, and somebody asked, if Stokes got out now, how many would you feel comfortable with the rest of them getting?
10.
People say 8, 10, and we
Yeah.
sort of settled on a consensus of about 25.
Yeah, that would be about right. Yeah.
But and astonishingly, Stuart Broad actually played well at number 8, which is again possibly even stranger than Duckett scoring.
Come on, give
180
Stuart
runs.
Broad. Stuart Broad's capable still.
No, he's not. He
He
really
is.
is.
He
They
played
bowled very badly at him.
Bear. He was good and brave on Sunday, but at number 8, he's at least 3 places too high in the batting order.
Nah.
He's a number 12.
He's not a number 12. He's not.
Um,
He's still capable. He scored a couple of 30s and 40s in a recent past.
Yeah, but the type of 30s and 40s he scores are when he absolutely throws the bat with his eyes closed. And
Stokey Cullen ball. What the fuck are we talking about here, for crying out loud?
Yeah, well then have him open. I mean, why not? Then you...
Get 40 at the top, giving it a quick smash.
So
Why
many
not?
talking points. So many
And
talking points.
Look, would it also be unpatriotic for me to say that Australia have played pretty well in these last 2 games?
Wait,
No, they have. They played really well.
It's a good Australian team, but it's
Yes.
also
A
a
fallible
better
one.
English team. Look, Australia haven't won haven't won a series in this country for 2 decades.
Yep.
For 22 years or whatever it is, and this isn't the best of those Australian teams that have been
No.
there since then.
Well, you mean the Mark Butcher series in 2001?
Is that how it's known? Is that what he wants to be remembered for? I think his guitar playing probably better, but he they're not a great team.
Well, they're the best there is on the planet
Are
at the
they so
moment.
much better than the 2015 team that got completely overwhelmed on a number of occasions when, incidentally, we were playing on green seamers
Yeah,
and bowling them out in an hour and 3/4.
exactly.
The-
Well,
the-
I mean, the fact is that their bowling attack is better.
Their bowling attack is really good.
Really
I'm not,
good. I mean, when the first 4 wickets they got in that second innings, the ball that got Pope out was an absolute snorter, and the balls that got
Oh,
both
Crawley,
Brook. No, Crawley gave it away
um,
a little bit. He was strangled down the leg side.
yeah.
I mean, it went a long way, but he was
Root-
strangled down the leg side. The road
Root-
that got Root and Brook
Yeah,
were
yeah.
absolute snorters.
Yeah.
And they, those 4 wickets weren't bumpers, and
And
they were
Cummins-
got.
Cummins getting Pope in the first Test match with an absolutely searing in-swinging
Yeah.
Yorker. They're obviously they're a very skilled attack. There's no question about it. And I wouldn't necessarily. I'd be absolutely interested to watch how England batted against them on a green seamer.
Well,
that would
who
be,
knows?
That would be hilarious.
We may
They
yet
might be
find out
100
in
all out
Leeds.
in 8 overs.
Yeah.
We might.
Well, the thing, I mean, this is my point about Stokey Cullen ball is the fact that
I'll stop calling that. It's just-
well, I'm not going to call it the B word.
Quite right.
It's is the fact, and I keep stating this, and you can't overstate the fact that if you attack good bowlers and their good balls get hit, they have to adjust. And if you make a good bowler adjust, you create yourself space to score more runs. And that is how they basically approach it.
But
and it works.
It's sort
And
of
it won't always work, because we will get bowled out for 100.
Well,
and we did against South Africa.
This is why Scott Boland, who is arguably their most sort of metronomic bowler in all of the teams they've got available, arguably why he was dropped for the second test. Yeah, well done, England. Mitchell Stark came in, and look what he did.
Yeah.
Well, but that's true, Bear. But a bit like the fight against terrorism, you have to win every time. They only have to win once. So those bowlers, you say you're trying to smash them off their length, and bowlers don't like it. But the fact is, bowlers never used to like going for 7 and over in limited overs cricket, but they damn well got used to going 7 and over, and then embraced going at 7 and over in T20 cricket, where they were delighted to go for 7 and over.
This is why I can bowl in the IPL.
Or not, as reality would have it. But the point is, if bowlers got into a mindset where they wouldn't actually mind being hit for 2 4s and over, if they knew they were going to get somebody out for 25, then it wouldn't bother them as much. Their mindset would change,
possibly,
and it wouldn't be so successful.
And in the next edition of the Smaximum, you can read a piece by Not Fred Titmus on how the fight between bat and ball in cricket is very much like terrorism.
How much did they pay this publication?
Nothing, obviously.
Well, I think I might give it to somebody else then.
It's free at the point of consumption.
It was no, that's the old
Actually,
thing.
It's not. You have to be a patron.
You have to be a patron. And do please give us lots of money. PayPal, Patreon, all that kind of stuff. Enter the GPL, buy a shower curtain, buy some Pontings wines. There's so many ways you can
help
give us
out.
money. Anyway, I mean, just when we're exhausted from talking about the first 2 test matches, the next one starts in about 12
hours time. Come on. Oh, can't wait.
It's a bit of a shame that they're actually all jammed into
so close together.
Well,
we actually get about 7 days off after this one, don't we?
Yeah.
Let me bring the mood down a bit then, and talk about boring cricket tweet of the week.
Ooh, a regular.
It's been quite difficult this week because, as you know, what I normally do is put the word cricket into Twitter and have a good old scroll. But you can't have a good old scroll these days without getting rate limited.
It's the boring cricket tweet of the week.
Anyway, I have managed.
Fucking Elon Musk ruining our podcast.
I have managed. I didn't mention his name. You did. I have managed to scrape the bottom of Twitter though for these beauties. Now, this first one would be an absolute worldie of a boring cricket tweet of the week. Were it not for the fact that it rescues itself in the second half. However, the first part of it, I'd like to frother.
Oh, that's unfair. I'm already calling this unfair because the guy's done a boring setup for a cracking finish, and you're.
Well, you don't know, do you? You don't know yet.
Well, that's how you've explained it.
Just wait and hear it. So it's a fella called Abhishek Murarka, and his tweet goes as follows: Ajit Agarkar is the new chairman of Men's Cricket Selection Committee. Then he goes on to say, I still remember him for the classic bat raise when he scored a single after 7 ducks. And if you so wish, you can go on to...
That is not in any way a boring cricket tweet. That's a great tweet.
Half a boring cricket tweet.
No, it isn't. You can't take half a tweet.
Listen, I've got 2 more to come.
All right.
Also, anything that declares itself as interesting is by definition not, I think. So this is from Chris Bullen on Twitter. It says, a very interesting and enjoyable day at the Welsh Cricket Coaching Conference.
Oh, I was wondering when Welsh cricket was in there.
Hashtag thanks. Hashtag good food.
I have a feeling that there was a former professional cricketer called Chris Bullen, and I think he used to play for Surrey. Is it him?
You be the judge. Well, not the judge. You go and find out. So
we get the vote.
That's the second offering. And the third one is from Cricket Ireland. More Celt bashing. And there's a picture of a cricket ground with a bell in the foreground and a rather gloomy looking scene, gloomy looking pitch with the covers on in the background. and it goes, unfortunately, Oak Hill has turned into Soak Hill as
Oh.
as the rain arrived.
Uh,
Well, I've just looked up Chris Bullen, by the way. If it's the same one, he played 31 first-class games for Surrey between 1982 and 1991.
Well, if
he
it is
might
the
well,
same one,
he might well have been a Welsh cricket conference, and as it has Welsh in it, and it's a cricket tweet, it's my vote for boring cricket tweet of the week.
Well, I'm going to blame Elon Musk for this low standard of entries this week. The first one was, frankly, a hilarious cricket tweet and has no part in this segment whatsoever.
Ooh, controversial.
always elicits strong opinions. This segment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I let's not play the blame game, but really, Grubby, you need to up your game a little bit here because
well,
you can't have a segment saying
I
boring
couldn't
cricket tweet of the
scroll.
week, and there's one which absolutely makes me laugh because it's absolutely hilarious.
Well, half.
No, you can't divide it in either. You could stop after 2 words. That would have been boring. No, not good enough. I'm sorry. Pull your finger out, mate.
Okay.
Chris Bullen currently works for Surrey County Cricket Club as a cricket development manager, says Wikipedia, but that could be about 10 years old.
CDM.
So it could be, you know, this is why he could have been, it could be a work-related tweet, in which case I'm going to let him off for that. So which only leaves us with
Cricket Island.
Oh no.
Ireland.
Oh no.
Oak Hill, Soak Hill.
And Cricket Ireland, really, their priority is not. They've stated this quite clearly. The CEO is not winning boring cricket tweet of the week. They are all out for the boring cricket tournament that's going on in Zimbabwe next year because they want to qualify for the world boring cricket tweet of the week, and they will fail miserably. So it's a tough one. I'm going to withdraw my vote this week.
What?
Well, you make your laws. I'll make my rules.
And Bear, you voted for
Welsh.
They win 1-0.
They 1-0.
1-0 to the Welsh.
So just
on a note about what's going on in Zimbabwe, it's bloody sad about the West Indies, though, isn't it? I mean, they're fucking pony.
They're not very good, so they didn't qualify.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you have qualifying tournaments, then you need to qualify. You know, the fact they won the first 2 World Cups is neither here nor there. If you've got a world qualifying tournament, then you've got a world qualifying tournament. Shouldn't have been held in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's a shithole, and with a very nasty government that's oppressing their citizens. And we shouldn't be playing in Zimbabwe, and the ICC shouldn't be giving tournaments to Zimbabwe in the same way as the Football World Cup shouldn't have been in Qatar.
All right. Well,
all right.
On the cricketing front, I've also been reading lots of things of people.
There was no cricket.
I've been reading cricketing tweets about how brilliant Zimbabwe have been in this qualifying tournament, and they've not qualified either.
No, exactly.
Hilarious.
And people go, "Oh, it's such a shame," and you go, "Well, they haven't qualified." So
Scotland may well do if they beat fucking Netherlands, eh?
It's between Scotland and Netherlands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where is the? When is the?
Well, potentially, I thought Zimbabwe could go through if someone. There must be a run rate thing because I think Zimbabwe got the same points as Scotland, but it's inferior run rate.
Do you know what? I haven't got the stomach to talk about that. But anyway, the tournament proper is in October, is it?
In October in India, yeah.
There you go, Fred. Put that in your calendar.
Well, possibly. Who's got the rights to that, Bear? Do we know?
Sky,
our old friend? No, is it our old friend, the ICC rights holder?
Oh God, him probably. He's probably got the radio rights.
Yeah.
The fuck knows what. He still owes me 800 quid. The cunt.
Does he really?
Well, yeah. You know, it's not entirely clear that
you swore you wouldn't use the C word, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. But...
When we were chatting about the Johnny B dismissal, I was going to use that word because
Johnny B ball.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
No, I won't. Sorry.
Yes, the fact is that we've all played a lot of cricket on a weekend where the opposing wicketkeeper is a complete cunt, and England had the same thing happen to them this week. That's what you know, these things happen. And frankly, we've all played with wicketkeepers who are a bit of a cunt as well. Let's be honest, even in our own teams, because there's something mad about wicketkeepers. I was a wicketkeeper myself. Thank you very much. I didn't know that, but I would still have said it, even had I known. Let's be honest.
You didn't.
I didn't say all wicket keepers.
No.
Some.
I get that. They're like goalkeepers. They're just a weird bunch, really.
Yes.
I was once at Lord's for a county championship game about 20 years ago, and I was sitting, and there were not many people there. It was I can't remember. I was sitting in the top deck of the pavilion, and a man came over and tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, "Do you know when the sun comes through that gap in the window and hits you on the back of the neck?" Which I thought is one of the weirdest questions I've ever been asked.
Yes.
But it was even weirder in that it was asked. That question was asked to me by Alan Knott, who was then a watcher for the England selectors and a famous hypochondriac, actually. And he wanted to know when. I had to tell him that I wasn't aware of the exact time. I didn't have my sextant with me either, so I couldn't calculate it. And Grubby's put his colour up as if to say, that's why
Alan
you ought
Knott.
to do it. Well, Alan Knott. But incidentally, did you see Alan Knott? He's obviously short of funds. He's selling off his memorabilia on
eBay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some of it for like 10 quid.
A pair of his gloves, 30 grand.
Yeah, but his pass for the entry to the Lord's Test match was like a tenner or something.
If I were a billionaire, I would buy his gloves for 30 grand
and give him to Johnny Bairstow to see, like Billy's boots, whether they rub off on him.
Oh, Billy's boots.
That'd be genius.
One for the teenagers there.
Oh yes. In case people don't know, that was a comic strip in about the 1970s where Billy Dane had a pair of old football boots belonging to Hotshot Keane or Deadshot Keane, a footballer of about 40 years earlier. And when he wore them, he just scored magic goals. And oddly enough, in the summer, he had a pair of cricket boots belonging to Deadshot Keane as well, who was a double international.
There'd be like a thought bubble out of Billy Dane's head, and it would say, I'm just going to drift to the far post. I don't really understand why. Oh, the ball's fetched up here, and I've scored a header.
Oh, dear.
Thanks, Boots. Top quality entertainment before the internet.
Every once in a while he'd lose them, wouldn't he? And he'd be flapping around in the field.
Yes, he would always. That was basically every second week they'd get they'd thrown away by accident, and he'd have to.
If the boots were that good, surely they'd magically call him.
Well, I think he'd tie them to his trousers and never let them out of his sight. You would have thought. Anyway, I'm going to turn over to Hotshot Hamish.
I was going to say
next week, Hotshot Hamish,
who was a Scottish footballer who scored from 35 yards, and the ball
broke
the net, didn't it?
There was lots of "Okay, Hootsman the new."
They were one of the first to have a foreign manager. I think was his name Victor Boscovich or something, who came from some mythical Eastern European land to manage. Who did Hotshot Hamish play for? Ooh,
did this fella come from Moldova?
What was the comic? Was it Scorcher? Was that the comic?
No, it was
Tiger and
Tiger.
Scorcher. I think they merged at some point.
No, Tiger and Eagle merged.
Yeah.
No, Tiger and Scorcher.
I saw it Scorcher.
Definitely Tiger was in there.
Anyway, if any of our listeners want to know, want to look up who Hotshot Hamish played for, and let us know before the next podcast, which will be in about 4 months' time, then please do.
You got plenty of time.
Of course, Roy of the Rovers played for Melchester Rovers. He played for them. He captained them. He managed them. I think he ended up as the chairman. Probably. I think he got knighted. He was Sir Roy Race at some point. Fun games, comics of the 1980s. Anyway. We've dealt with the boring cricket tweet of the week's
century,
which had an absolutely fantastic tweet, and I have to congratulate Abhishek for that marvelous tweet. But our other main segment, let's be honest, it's what we're here for, is the bear reading the sidebar of shame in the Daily Mail.
Well, it's not a sidebar of shame, and I did so little preparation today that I did manage to find a couple of bits, but they weren't very interesting.
Before you tell us what it is, Fred, maybe we can have a little game where we
try and construct
what would be peak in the same way.
Oh, okay.
That peak sort of Daily Mail headline would be, I don't know, something like immigrants with AIDS drive down house prices. That would be like a classic Daily Mail headline, wouldn't it? So what would be the classic?
Well, it would be a world record, wouldn't it? There'd be a world record.
For
something to do dangling your bollocks in a pool of ice or something like that. Yeah.
Definitely something to do with genitalia.
For 62 hours.
Yeah. Well, there is a man who retains his world record crown.
Oh.
Okay. Go on.
It was July the 4th yesterday. Hot dog eating.
Oh yes, Joey Chestnut.
Man eats a hot dog every 10 seconds for 10 minutes to retain the crown.
Joey Chestnut, who's one of the world's great sportsmen.
Yeah.
Who has
I don't know if that's sport. Yeah, Joey Jaws Chestnut.
Yeah, he's been winning. How many years is he the world champion of hot dog eating?
Quite
a lot.
62 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, man.
Oh, the buns though. Is he allowed water in
Yeah.
between? He must be allowed water.
Oh, it's very strictly regulated. Actually, I saw the picture of the women's champion, and she was not what you'd expect. Actually,
His world record though.
No,
is
well, he's not massive, is he, Joey
no,
Chestnut?
he's not. He's not.
He's like he's 11 stone, wringing wet.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what your fucking guts are like, though? Jesus Christ!
Well, he's
I-
prepared
you-
for it all year.
You wouldn't want Joey staying with you in your house. He comes out of the bog
No,
after
no,
I wouldn't go in there
exactly.
for 20.
Won't go in there
hours.
till next July the 4th.
It's 20. So he ate 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes, but it's in 2021 he was in better shape because he ate 62. 76, sorry.
There's a
Yeah,
brilliant.
I thought 62 is the same as 62.
There's a film you can watch. It's a Japanese professional eater against a grizzly bear. This guy's called Kobayashi or something like that, and it's similar sort of it's hot
Isn't
dogs.
that a test in fucking Star Trek?
And this bear,
Kobayashi
this bear comes on.
was the villain in the Usual Suspects, who didn't
No,
really exist.
Kaiser Soze.
That was
Yeah, but
Kaiser Soze.
Kobayashi was Pete Postlethwaite, who may not have existed.
Right. Well, maybe the bear was named, or maybe the eater. I don't know if it was the bear or the eater.
Yeah.
Anyway, this professional eater on one side of the stage, and they've got this hard kind of perspex dividing the stage for safety reasons.
You want it to be pretty hard, wouldn't you?
When they released this bear, so this guy started eating, and the bear wanders out, and this fella looks across and absolutely shits himself. And the bear, not you, bear, the bear in this film, eats about 10 of these things in a second. It's
But
not a fair
I
contest.
have to say, yeah, the bear probably didn't know it was a contest, did he?
No, well,
He
it
probably wasn't aware of the rules.
Makes his achievements even more notable.
Yeah, well, he might just not, he'd turn up one day and he can't be asked, and it wouldn't be much of a competition, would it?
Oh, he was hungry.
Maybe they did something nasty like starving him for a month or something. You never know in Japan. Strange place. Anyway, we've pissed off the Welsh. We've pissed off the Japanese. Anyone else?
And it was sponsored by Warwickshire.
Uh,
Sorry, Bear, did we cut across the end of your story there?
No, not at all. I was trying to find the latest world records.
I saw a tweet saying that Warwickshire legend MJK Smith on his 90th birthday went to watch the Birmingham Bears in a T20. I said, why would a Warwickshire legend want to watch the Birmingham Bears? It's two different things, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
But
Was he 90 or 93?
whatever he was.
I think it was 93.
It's a bit much asking somebody of that age to watch a T20 game. I mean, it's practically elder cruelty, but that's just my opinion. And it's the right opinion. Anyway, so we've done the boring cricket tweet of the week. We've done. Oh, 1 second. Where did I used to hide this? I used to jot down little stories that I might want to talk about, and I can't find them. I don't know where I put them.
It's usually about somebody being killed in some
or
theatrical performance.
Well, here's something you
in
might
New
want to know.
York in 1912.
Apparently, humans inhale credit card-sized amounts of microplastics every week.
That's not very
great.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's quite a lot of
A
plastic.
friend of mine lives in Los Angeles. I've just found this story. It's not a great story, but it's just a bit odd. And he, when he moved there, he moved from England, and whatever, you're looking for people to do stuff, and he asked around, can somebody recommend him a dentist? He's had some young kids and whatever, they're always going to the dentist and stuff. And somebody said, yeah, there's this guy, he's very good. He's like way out. He's like a 20-mile drive from where they lived, and it's a rather strange little area in an industrial estate. But he's really good, and he's really very reasonable. He's very cheap. So anyway, he went over and he tried him. It was great. Had all his kids done. He used to go back every 6 months or a year, whatever, have their checkups. Everything was fine. One day, his missus phones up to make an appointment for the kids. There's no answer. Tries again a couple of days later, no answer. I think this is a bit odd. Something wrong. Anyway, we're going to drive down there and have a look. Go down there. The whole place is shuttered up. No forwarding address. Nothing. It's just from one day to the next, he's gone. And so they said, "Oh, we'll leave it for a bit." Anyway, nothing changes. He's gone. He's disappeared. And he said to his person who recommended him, "What's happened to that dentist? Has he moved somewhere? Because we can't find him." He says, "Oh, didn't you hear?" And he said, "Hear what?" And the guy goes into his house and he rattles up. And he comes back with a newspaper. He'd been arrested for robbing banks. They called him the rolled sleeves bandit because he always had his sleeves rolled up, and the newspapers need a bad name. And he would go into banks, he would hold them up, and he got away with about five 5 bank robberies until somebody recognised him because he was his dentist.
Because they always wear a mask.
reported him, and he got arrested. So at least they found out why he was so cheap, because he was just doing it to sort of, he was doing.
He wasn't really a dentist.
No, he was a qualified dentist, but he didn't need to make much money out of it because he was robbing banks on the side.
I've got to rewind to the nickname the press gave him, the rolled
sleeves
bandit.
Yes,
That's a
terrible name. But they
Isn't it?
obviously couldn't find anything interesting about him other than he had his sleeves rolled up.
Well, he was a fucking dentist. There's got to be a pun on that, surely.
No, this was when they were looking for him. They called him the rolled sleeves bandit because he probably had a mask on, and the only thing they could find about him was that his sleeves were rolled up.
Sleevo.
When he claimed that he was addicted to some of the painkillers they used in dentistry or whatever. But I don't think anyone else has had their dentist locked up for bank robbery. That's something a bit odd. But hey, niche. Los Angeles. If you do I'm going to do a search now for rolled sleeves
Cufflink Dodger. That's what I'd have called him.
Ex-dentist sentenced to 5 years. There's the first from the LA Times. A former Newport Beach dentist was sentenced Monday to 5 years in prison for stealing more than $21,000 during a string of bank robberies.
Sentenced Monday. That's very American, isn't it?
21
Not on
grand.
Monday. Sentenced Monday.
But
21. It's not a lot.
Grand.
He was happy with it. No, I know, but he was happy. You just give him a couple of $1,000. Thank you. I'll go off and move on to the next one. He wasn't greedy. He was a dentist.
$5,000 here, $5,000 there.
Yeah, Danny. Probably get that.
Good dentist, apparently. I think probably in prison he'll probably be quite useful because I'm not sure how many tools you'd have, but there's probably a lot of people who want dentistry work.
Well, we'd have to be supervised.
Oh yeah, I suppose so. It's all kind of regulatory issues. Anyway, that is my odd story of the week. My friend's dentist from Newport Beach.
But that bit of phraseology there, he was sentenced Monday as opposed to he was sentenced.
That's newspapers. It was like Lord's bosses. Lord's bosses.
No, but that's specifically American phraseology, isn't it?
Oh, I said yes. I suppose so.
Also, the way that in headlines they sometimes use a comma instead of saying and. So
because you want the headlines to be as big as possible.
Yeah, man run over, comma killed.
Yeah,
for example, you see, and actually, there's an Australian one, isn't there, which they use all the time, which is whereas we would say, "Oh, I've got a chance," or "He's got a chance," they say, "I'm a chance," like "I am a chance." Yeah, he's a chance. He's a chance here. Oh, he's a chance.
I think you're misunderstanding them.
No, you ask some Australians. We're a chance. We're a chance here. They say that all the time.
I'm going to go back to Johnny Bairstow. Wasn't it great that Stuart Broad said to Carey, he was caught up on the stump like, "This is the only thing you're ever going to be remembered for."
Yeah.
Lovely sledge.
That is, and it wasn't. He wasn't trying to be overheard. He was just telling him how and he was right. Let's be honest. Yeah. Carey the cheat. They're going to call him forevermore.
Exactly.
Not cheating.
And he's going to get so much shit tomorrow.
He is, until he starts planting vineyards in 20 years' time, and we're going to have him on Guerilla.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going
to
be
our favourite man.
And he's going to say, yeah, look, I probably shouldn't have done it. I probably should have withdrawn the appeal. But it's too late. Too late, mate.
God, if I'm still doing Guerilla cricket,
what
then
if he
I'll be 72.
You'll still be having trouble with builders to bring it back to where we first started.
Yeah. And Hendo, if he's still alive. Christ.
If he's listening,
what a cheery thought.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, that is a cheery thought, isn't it? Let's end on that cheery thought, shall we?
Okay, everybody. Till next time, whenever it will be. I hope these next 3 test matches will have as many talking points as the first 2. But could they possibly? Is it even possible? What's going to happen? Is somebody going to get blown up? We haven't even talked about the just stop oil, probably just as well.
Just topsoil.
Bairstow, you would have thought after 20 minutes of day 1, the most interesting thing that would happen to him was that he picked up a protester, dumped him off the side. But no. It doesn't even make the top 5 talking points of the test match.
They got in Wimbledon. They got in Wimbledon today as well. After all the supposed fucking extra security as well, they still managed to get in.
Everyone made the joke. It's the first thing that Johnny Bairstow has held all series. But I was the only one who said, "Oh, he's got orange paint all over his head."
Ginger community unafraid of orange powder.
Yes,
exactly.
Righty ho. Till next time, whenever it shall be. So long to one and all.
Goodbye.
Ta-ra.
Oh,
So that was the innings of Brendan McCullum. Scores lots of fours because he don't like to run them. And here we are waving Brendan McCullum goodbye. Whoa, whoa.